In your politics on this Tuesday morning, President Joe Biden announcing that he will be running for a second term for president. Take a listen.
Let's finish this job. I know we can, because this is the United States of America. There's nothing, simply nothing we cannot do if we do it together.
Let's finish the job. This is a key message in Biden's campaign. He's made very clear he's fighting for the soul of America and democracy versus autocracy. Joining us to discuss is Isaac Hale, Assistant Professor of Politics at Occidental College. Good morning, Professor. Nice to have you back.
Thank you for having me.
President Biden announcing his run for president. We see how he's attempting to frame this election already. Will it be effective?
I think provided things are going well next year come the presidential election, it will be effective. Now, of course, the open question is, how will the economy be doing in November 2024? If it's doing well, I think you can expect a likely re-election for President Biden. If it's not, it's anyone's bet what's happened.
Well, right now, the forecasts for the economy aren't so great, so that'll be interesting to watch. But Biden has a 38% approval rating, with the majority of Democrats not wanting him, according to polls, to run for president. His vice president also has a low approval rating, but no significant challengers have emerged just yet. He won the 2016 primary because Democrats believed he was the best candidate to defeat Trump. Is that still the case?
Look, I mean, you're absolutely right. There are substantial portions of Democrats who believe Joe Biden shouldn't run again. And in fact, when you look at polls, most Americans think both Joe Biden and his predecessor, Donald Trump, should not run again. But as you mentioned, on the Democratic side, there are no substantial challenges to the incumbent president, which is pretty normal. President Obama did not face any serious challengers, nor did President Trump when he ran for re-election. So that's pretty normal, historically speaking. But it is a bit unusual to see this much concern among the Democratic rank and file.
So on the Trump side, Georgia DA Fani Willis indicating potential indictments this summer, and in the E. Jean Carroll defamation rape trial, it's set to begin today, not to mention a trial in New York set for January over the hush money payments to an adult film star. Is a Trump win in a general even possible?
Certainly it's possible. And I think what's interesting is when we saw the recent charges come out against Trump and he made his appearance in court, he actually increased his performance in the polls versus his likely challengers, including Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. This is not to say that one of these scandals or investigations couldn't tarnish his reputation, couldn't eventually knock him out of the running, but we've seen no indication of that yet.
Right. And Governor Ron DeSantis has seen his poll numbers plummet in the past month. His 6-week abortion ban, book banning, attacking Mickey Mouse, the LGBTQ community. It's fractured the Republican support. Would you say he's done?
He's definitely not done. I mean, many of these things that Ron DeSantis are doing that are unpopular with voters nationwide are still quite popular with the Republican base, and especially the base that disproportionately turns out in primary elections. And I think it's, we might say that, oh, look, Ron DeSantis is trailing Donald Trump in the polls, but he's also far outstripping other rivals, people like former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley or former Vice President Mike Pence, who's also considering a run for the presidency. So Ron DeSantis is trailing the former president, but he's certainly the one to watch if it's not going to be Donald Trump.
Right. All right. We're seeing the dismantling of Fox News after the Dominion lawsuit and the firing of Tucker Carlson. How badly does this fracture the conservative echo chamber, in your estimation?
I mean, I don't think it does to a terrible extent. I mean, I think the Dominion lawsuit certainly, puts a ding in the bottom line. Perhaps they'll be more careful in future elections about who they potentially defame. But in terms of how lucrative is the conservative media machine, it's incredibly lucrative. There's a very big audience for Fox News. And yes, Tucker Carlson will be replaced, as Bill O'Reilly was replaced before him. But I think ultimately it's unlikely to put a serious dent in the right-wing media apparatus over at Fox News.
Yeah, we'll be watching it very closely. So Justice Clarence Thomas still under fire for accepting lavish gifts from a GOP mega donor. He said there was no conflict of interest. But Harlan Crow did have a case in front of the Supreme Court in 2005. Will the Democrats try to impeach Justice Thomas, and should they?
The question of will they try to impeach Justice Thomas, I think we've already got an indication that the answer is no. Senator Dick Durbin, a member of Democratic Senate leadership, said that the Chief Justice, John Roberts, should do an investigation. Now, that doesn't close the door on an investigation from Senate Democrats, But it does make it seem rather unlikely that they're going to take that leap. And no Supreme Court justice has been successfully impeached in the past. It seems unlikely that Clarence Thomas will be the first.
All right, before I let you go, Speaker McCarthy doubling down on the MAGA right. If he loses the battle on the debt ceiling, could he lose the speakership? How big a tightrope is he walking?
So he is walking a serious tightrope. John Boehner, when he had that pair of debt ceiling showdowns with Barack Obama back during his presidency, there were serious questions about how long Boehner could hold on, and ultimately him choosing to go against his party to use Republican votes to raise the debt ceiling against the wishes of members of his own caucus ultimately was part of the end of his speakership. It's unclear how this particular debt ceiling crisis resolves, though, because it's not only House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and House Republicans who are opposing an increase in the debt ceiling, but it's also Senate Republicans who are currently using the filibuster in an unprecedented way to stop a motion to raise the debt ceiling.
As we've said many times in the past several years, never a dull moment in politics. Isaac Hale, Assistant Professor at Politics at Occidental College, we thank you for being with us. We appreciate you.
Thank you.